Penn State Wrestling is going to win another national championship in the 24-25 season, regardless of which lineup it trots out there. But which version of them would be the best?
You are Locked On Nittany Lions, your daily podcast on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
So what this is essentially is making a fantasy lineup with Penn State Wrestling this upcoming season. This is Locked On Nittany Lions. I'm your host, Zach Seyko, and thanks so much for making us your first listen and watch every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. And today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. Game off. We got to talk more about Monopoly Go. This fast-paced game lets you team up with your friends for tournaments to unlock awesome prizes, unique stickers for trading, and cool playing pieces, as well as hilarious emojis to taunt your friends with. So download Monopoly Go now free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on. And let's welcome him back from NittanySportsNow.com, Joe Smeltzer, beat reporter for Penn State football, men's basketball, wrestling. He actually just had an article projecting Penn State Wrestling's lineup for this upcoming season, 24 and 25. But Joe, we are going to give our best lineup, who we think would be the best at each weight class, and then debate some of the differences, because of course we're going to have some similarities. And I encourage people to be in the comments with their best picks for each of the 10 spots. So I'll go first. I have at 125, Luke Lilledahl. At 133, Aaron Nagel. At 141, Bo Bartlett. At 149, Shayne Van Ness, returning from injury and everything. At 157, Mitchell Messenbrink. At 165, Levi Haynes. At 174, Alex Facundo. At 184, Carter Starocci. At 197, Connor Mirasola. And at heavyweight, Greg Kirkley. So that is my opinion on the best lineup that would score the most points. And when, of course, they're going to win a national championship. We know that. But that is my best lineup, in my opinion. Joe, it's yours.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, Zach, as always. We're all the same from 25 through 74. Where it gets interesting is in that back half. I have Josh Barr at 184. I really see some big things from him. I liked what I saw in the limited sample that he wrestled this past season when he was a true freshman. I guess that's his redshirt year, but his high school pedigree also speaks for itself. And I think he's the guy that finds his way into that starting lineup at 184. And I think he has a shot to maybe exceed what Bernie Truax did last season. And then 197, I think Carter would win the national title at 74, 84, or 97. And I think
agreed.
97 would present the biggest challenge for him. I think he's a guy that wants to gain weight. He told us at the trials that cutting weight was kind of beginning to wear on him. And I think he is capable of making that move to 197. And I don't know what's going to happen with him as far as surgery goes and how much that will complicate things. So that'll definitely be a big story of this offseason. But I think him and Kayla talked about 197. Carter, if for people that haven't noticed, the closed door conversations he has often become more public, we'll say, than they do with other wrestlers. And I think that he would win at 197. That's the biggest challenge for him. And therefore, that's what's going to come to pass. And assuming Greg Kirkley comes back, which considering Carter came back, Bartlett came back, and with wrestlers, there usually isn't really anywhere to go aside from freestyle, which you could do anyway while you're still in college. I think Kirkley's going to come back too, and Penn State will have its national champion heavyweight back at 285. So we're the same for the most part, but 84 and 97 is where we differ a little bit. But we're both pretty high on Connor Mirasola too. It'd be hard to cut him out of the lineup, but with Starocci coming back, I think that's ultimately what's going to end up happening. But in any case, this should be a team that gives last year's a run for its money, which statistically at the NCAA tournament, you can make the argument that last year was the best college wrestling of all time. So exciting times ahead for sure.
Oh, yeah. We've been Joe, you and I have been talking about since the NCAA had finished back in March that the next Penn State team could be even better than the one that just set records. And that holds true no matter what they do, because, there's going to be logistical things. Levi Haynes could redshirt. He very well could, to add weight and eventually move up to 165 officially, maybe even 174, right? It's a
Yeah,
possibility depending on how he wants to compete internationally. Then there's Tyler Kasak, who could certainly redshirt, given, but he's had such an impressive freshman season. And then Braeden Davis is right coming off of an impressive freshman season as well. So I know the comments, I almost want to speak for the public here because we agree on a lot of the weight classes in terms of who would be the best option, right? Other people are going to say that, well, why isn't Braeden Davis in your lineup? He shouldn't be taking a red shirt. It should be Aaron Nagao should be out of the lineup and Braeden Davis should be at 133, or maybe we redshirt Luke Lilledahl here, speaking on behalf of Penn State, right? Speaking on behalf of Penn State, redshirt the impressive freshman Luke Lilledahl and allow Davis to wrestle at 125 again here. So let's begin there as far as the first, I guess, controversial pick, if you will. I think Luke Lilledahl wins in a wrestle off against Braeden Davis. Luke Lilledahl is beating former NCAA champions, college wrestlers, right? Olympic. He beat adults at the Olympic trials, right? He's ready to go. Fresh out of high school. He would win a national championship now at 125. He tech-balled his way at the U20 US Open all the way through, and one of which including Vinny Kilcurie, who had that controversial no call, yes call against Braeden Davis, as we remember here, Joe. But I fully believe that if Luke Lilledahl comes in and he slots in at 125, he is the best wrestler for Penn State and would be the favorite to win an NCAA title at that weight.
Yeah, absolutely. I have very little doubt. Even though Kale in the past has been pretty cautious with freshmen, we saw it took a while to burn Levi Haynes' red shirt. That's just an example. But Lilledahl, not only do I feel he's the best option at 125, I think Braeden Davis, the best move for him is to go up to 133. Now, would he be able to beat out Aaron Nagao? I think we both give Nagao a slight edge there. But the combination of Lilledahl's talent and Braeden Davis, 125 is a really hard weight to keep, right? So I think it makes more sense for him health-wise and then subsequently wrestling-wise to go up a weight class. So Lilledahl, he's too good to ignore, really. What he did in high school, he made himself the number one wrestler in the class of 2024, pound for pound. That's any weight class. And what he's been doing in freestyle, I thought he looked very good at the Olympic trials, and then he kind of made a mockery out of the U.S. Open, which you just referred to. What he did to Vinny Kilcurie, who frankly should have beat Braeden Davis. We're not going to go too much down that rabbit hole again, but that we both agreed out was a takedown that would have won the match. But Lilledahl is one of those guys that could be, I think he's cut from the cloth that Penn State wrestling fans have come to expect. I think this is a guy that could be a national champion this year, could be a multi-time national champion. And we could kind of debate because Braeden Davis's NCAA championships didn't go the way many expected. Is the Siriano curse, does that still exist? But I think if Lilledahl goes out there at 125, and not that Braeden Davis couldn't do well at 125 too, but I think this is a guy I really have a feeling about him that once he gets onto that mat as a true freshman, it's not going to take long for people who don't know about him to find out that name real quick. He's called Lightning Luke for a reason, and I think it's not going to take long for him to establish himself in the Big Ten.
Now, what about 133? Because again, you kind of prefaced it that Braeden Davis could be a better option at 133. There's kind of the stigma that Aaron Nagao doesn't really fit in. The transfer portal has closed for NCAA wrestling. So if there was any inclination that from what I've heard, everything that I've heard, and Joe, you can definitely back me up on this, is that Penn State Wrestling, the program, likes Aaron Nagao. They were never going to say, hey, you don't have a spot here. They brought him in for a reason, knowing that they had Luke Lilledahl committed. Braeden Davis was never going to stay at 125. And I don't even think Lilledahl will eventually stay at 125. I think eventually he will move up as well. And then Bo Bartlett comes back for another season, right? So, but if, again, kind of the same thing here. Who is the best today? I think Aaron Nagao would win a wrestle-off against Braeden Davis. Braeden Davis is coming up to his weight. Aaron Nagao is better offensively, but Braeden Davis is better defensively, right? I mean, so this would be a real yin and yang, fire versus ice type of matchup here, because Aaron Nagao is the offensive tactician, and then Braeden Davis is the defensive mastermind who's tougher on top. So who's your pick in that head-to-head matchup?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. And based on experience and pedigree and experience, particularly at the 133-pound weight class,
Mhm.
Braeden Davis is going to have to adjust to moving up a weight. Nagel wouldn't have
Yeah.
to adjust. He's been at
Yep.
133. He's been a Big
It's his
Ten
class.
analyst at 133. Been an All American at 133, and has wrestled people like Roman Bravo Young, among others. Ryan Crooken from Lehigh. He's been battle tested at 133, and I think the experience helps him out. The experience at that weight helps him out. And also, if you look at last season, which is the only season either one of them has wrestled at Penn State, they
Mhm.
really kind of had more similar paths than people might think. I think Davis is widely regarded as a success because of how much Penn State struggled at 125, and
Mhm.
because there really were not many expectations for him coming in as a true freshman. And then because Nagel wasn't an All-American, because he lost some tough matches in the dual season, he's thought of as more of a disappointment considering what he did in Minnesota and
Good point.
not quite being able to match that on the surface. But at the end of the day, both of these guys had moments where they looked very good last season and other moments where they struggled. I think the NCAA championships were a big showcase of that, with neither one of them reaching that All-American status. But at the
Mhm.
same time, the Big Ten championships, which were only a few weeks before that, showcased the best of both of them. Nagel had
Yep.
a very good tournament, had multiple, I think, two tech falls in that tournament, and could have beat Dylan Ragerson in the semifinals. And then who knows what would have happened if he got to the finals, but he could have very well joined Braeden Davis on that first place podium for their respective weight classes. So I think the two really had more similar seasons than a lot of people think. And yeah, if a coach in any sport, this could be
Mhm.
football, this could be wherever, I think unless there's a very wide gap, a coach is generally going to favor the guy that's more experienced. So
Yeah.
even if Braeden Davis is slightly better than Aaron Nagel in the preseason, that experience could, if there's a tie, Nagal's probably going to get that spot because of that experienced tiebreaker. So I think Braeden Davis's best chance is to absolutely just wrestle circles around Aaron Nagel. And as good as Braeden Davis is, I think he's going to have a great college career.
Mhm.
I just don't know if I see that happening. I think Nagel is going to more than hold his own, and as long as he holds his own, I think in the preseason, I think he's in the driver's seat for that starting spot.
And just to finish with this, to add to the defense of Nagel, he was not really 100% for most of the season. Some rumors, battling injuries, battling illnesses, right? We just always had the indication that he was never fully 100% at certain times of the season. So you put both of them at 100%. Who wins that wrestle off? In our opinion, it's Aaron Nagel at this time. Certainly, things couldn't change as soon as Braeden Davis gets adjusted to that weight class. Now, still to come, we're going to debate some of those other weight classes. 149, Shayne Van Ness or Tyler Kasak, right? Has Kasak really come on when he had that incredible postseason? And then 174, 184, 197 get really interesting. That's coming up next here on Locked On Nittany Lions. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors is everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to its peak performance, from superchargers to roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you are into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. And with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, that is right, 122 million parts. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car into that MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. That is ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Today's episode is also brought to you by Monopoly Go. All right, game off. We got to pause here to talk more about Monopoly Go. And I know what you're thinking. Flag on the play. You've already talked about this, but there's just so much good stuff in the game that I have to tell you about. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with your friends for time tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you can unlock. And there's so much to get. Unique stickers that you can trade with your friends to complete albums for big prizes, cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with, and hilarious emojis for taunting your friends when you smash their buildings and heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting each and every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton of them include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure. And there's always new timed events to help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now for free on Google Play or the App Store. That is Monopoly Go. Game on. So now this is where it really can get controversial, right? 125 is one discussion, one debate, but 149. Shayne Van Ness was supposed to be the number 2 wrestler, the ranked wrestler going into the season. Then he gets injured. And then Tyler Kasak, okay, had some learning experiences, but the way that he wrestled all the way back through and some of the names that he defeated in that 149-pound weight class, originally losing to Ridge Lovett twice, and then getting a major decision against him. Joe, this is where, again, do you just redshirt Tyler Kasak for the sake of it, or is Shayne Van Ness going to be 100%? And now, if he's not 100%, that's where, again, but this is best of the best. Chips are on the table. Who would you wrestle there? Shayne Van Ness, again, was going to be 149 for a reason, right? At the beginning of last season. This is where this is my evidence to my argument. Van Ness was going to be the starter at 149, and they were going to redshirt Kasak at 141 and have him be the heir apparent to Bo Bartlett. Then Kasak moves up a weight class, and look what he did here. But that was Van Ness's weight class all along. You can't just account for injury in this case, but he looks good with his recovery. So I say you redshirt Kasak, allow him to either cut weight and train at 141, or do you even redshirt him to eventually try to work his way up to 157, right? Because I can't imagine that cutting to 141 is going to be easy for him one way or another. I say you redshirt Kasak and you allow Shayne Van Ness to have his moment, his season.
Yeah, 100%, Zach. And I think this is a great example of Penn State really being an embarrassment of riches. You had a true freshman last season, win a Big Ten championship at 125, and come into the NCAA championships as the number 1 seed in that weight class. You had another true freshman finish third at NCAAs and win 7 straight matches to do it. And if we're right, then both of those guys are going to be redshirted, which really speaks to the talent that this program has. I think it's really a similar case with Davis and Nagao. There's nothing in college wrestling that Tyler Kasak, as good as he was last season, Shayne Van Ness has kind of done, he's accomplished everything Kasak has. He finished third at NCAAs. I think
very true. He had a run like that at NCAAs. Exactly.
Absolutely. And if he had wrestled this season, he would have, I don't know if he would have won a national title, but he would have been in that mix. He started the year ranked number 2 in the country at 149. So I think Tyler Kasak's only way to start at 149 is to, like with Davis and Nagao, if he just absolutely almost wrestles circles around Van Ness in the preseason. And I just don't see that happening. With as good as Van Ness is, with as motivated as he's going to be, if we know that he could have won a national championship, you definitely know that he knows that he could have had that run and really had last season stolen from him. I think he's going to be very motivated, and I think it's going to be hard for Tyler Kasak to really stand out against a motivated and angry, feeling cheated, whatever, Shayne Van Ness. I think it's going to be hard to take to have Van Ness's title push stolen 2 years in a row. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think if it's close, the veteran's going to get it, and that's really kind of puts Van Ness in the driver's seat. I'm very confident that he's going to be the guy at 149, and Bartlett's going to be gone next season, and after that, maybe Kasak it will have his time at 141. But yeah, similar to with Davis and Nagao, the veteran is going to win out most of the time, and Penn State's veteran Shayne Van Ness might be as good as anybody in the country at 149, and I think I don't see how he doesn't get that starting spot.
Now, remember, Bartlett did start his career for Penn State at 149 and then ultimately settled in at 141, where it was more of his comfortable weight class. And he succeeded both, obviously better at 141, but it's kind of the same. They have the same blueprint in a case if they do have Kasak cut, if they're going to do that, if that's ultimately the game plan. Now, we know one way or another, if Levi Haines is at 157, 165, he's the best wrestler because he reigns supreme, given the fact that he was an NCAA runner-up and then an NCAA champion at 157. But logistics aside, he could be a redshirt candidate to potentially add some weight or just to train internationally, right? He got his feet wet with the Olympic trials, but he's the best of the best. So redshirt logistics, what Penn State can do with all of its game planning aside, Levi Haines would be in any hypothetical lineup at 157, 156, 165. That's not really up for debate which way he rotates with him and Mitchell Messenbrink. You can't. We're talking best of the best here. So that's why we slide to 174, 184, 197, because this is really where it gets interesting, Joe. You have, because if Carter Starocci wrestles at 174, I understand the debate for any of them. Hey, that's Carter's weight. Let him finish out his career. 5 titles at one weight class. He's owned that. But I say that I think he's best suited at 184. Alex Facundo is fresh off of an international Pan Am gold. And remember, he's a former number 1 ranked recruit in the recruiting class. He was the starter at 165. He just wrestled. He beat Levi Haines at the Olympic trials, right? Yeah. So Alex Facundo comes back in. I think he can, and that was at, give or take 163 pounds, right? And, an American. And Alex Facundo easily slots in as my 174 pick, bumping Carter Starocci. Now, Carter Starocci would beat Facundo if they had to wrestle off at 174, but I think Carter Starocci in a best pound for pound lineup for Penn State, Carter Starocci is better than Josh Barr would be at 184, and then Connor Mirasola is your best option at 197. So this is, I guess, where we can go a little more back and forth. What's the case here for saying Josh Barr would be better at 184 than Connor Mirasola would be at 197?
Wow. That's a good question. Yeah. It's hard to go wrong with either one, right? We've seen how good Mirasola has looked. I thought he looked pretty good at the trials. Obviously what he did in his high school career, and he's had some other flashes in freestyle. He beat Max Steen while he was still a high school senior last December. But yeah, I just I don't know. Partially it's because I've seen what Josh Barr can do in folk style at the college level. Haven't seen that from Mirasola yet, so it's that experience factor. And really kind of going back to what Carter said about Josh Barr. I think it was after the Indiana dual meet at Rec Hall where they did have Josh Barr wrestle at 184, and he won rather easily. And Carter said something like, "This guy's going to be a multi-time national champ. We got these young guys coming in," so that's a pretty good source to hear from. But yeah, I just feel that like Carter Mirasola is, Josh Barr was very decorated at the high school level, one of the top recruits in the nation. And I think he has a year in that room with not only the Penn State wrestling team, but the NLWC guys, and of course that coaching staff too. Right now, I just feel that he's a natural at 184. That's the class he's been in. And it's not that Mirasola couldn't do very well right away at 197, but I think I don't know. I just as I mentioned earlier, I think Carter's biggest challenge is at 197. I think that's what he's going to go for, and I think if he does that, he'll still probably win a national championship. And then at 184, they'll be in good hands with Josh Barr as well. So yeah, there's a lot of time to discuss in the off season. Maybe both of us will change our lineup projections at some point within the next 6 months. I think that's probably a good bet that that's going to happen. But from where I sit, I just really like Josh Barr at 184.
And another sponsor on today's show, that is Yahoo Finance. Let's get straight to the point. You want to grow your portfolio to deal with the rising cost of inflation, to pay off your debt or your mortgage, pretty much anything standing in the way of you and financial freedom, right? With Yahoo Finance, you can get access to news, data, and tools that you need in order to reach that financial freedom. For more than 25 years, Yahoo Finance has been the brand behind every great investor. Whether you're a seasoned investor or you're looking for that little bit of extra guidance, Yahoo Finance gives you all the tools and data you need in one place. They're the number one financial destination, producing a holistic look at the financial news cycle, including breaking news, original editorial perspectives, analyst ratings, independent research, customizable charts, and so much more. With a community of over 90 million users each month, their real strength is helping you on your way to financial success. For comprehensive financial news and analysis, visit the brand behind every great investor, yahoofinance.com. The number one financial destination is yahoofinance.com. Once again, that's yahoofinance.com. I mean, again, this is I just want to continue to preface this. This isn't a matter of projecting what Penn State will do. This is where, you know, let's play every card that we have. Who would be the best wrestler? And that's not to disrespect Josh Barr, but I almost feel like you should have a wrestle off where they meet in between, where they meet at when they meet at 190 pounds, and you have Connor Mirasola versus Josh Barr, and then that's how you kind of decide ultimately what happens there. I just from Connor Mirasola now, would it benefit again logistically? Would it benefit Penn State to try to redshirt Connor Mirasola, allow him to train actively in Penn State's wrestling room? Again, he's not officially a member of the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club. Eventually, I imagine he would be, but again, he's not in the Penn State mat room until he's ready to enroll at Penn State officially, right? They just had, and Luke Lilledahl, for example, just signed his letter of intent, right? So in the case of Connor Mirasola, does he ultimately project at heavyweight, right? We can make those predictions. This is truly like who is the best of the best right now. But with Connor Mirasola, he took down Aaron Brooks for the first time in a year. Aaron Brooks had not been taken down in a whole calendar year, and a high school senior takes him down at the Olympic trials. I know Aaron Brooks got taken down against the Heat. Hey, he didn't even get taken down against David Taylor. Connor Mirasola, I think, again, won his US 20 Open Championship at his respective weight class. Josh Barr was second runner-up. I know that's, like a difference, in a matter of square inches here, Joe.
Yep.
But Connor Mirasola, I think, projects better at 197 than Josh Barr would at 184. And again, we don't actually know how much Carter Starocci is actually going to wrestle in the upcoming season, right? Is he going to have any procedures? Is he going to train internationally, right? Because I don't think that he wrestles a full complete season for Penn State. So does that mean that you're still going to have Josh Barr and Connor Mirasola in the lineup at 184, 197, and then Carter Starocci is ready to go? So maybe this conversation's completely null and void, but you can't go wrong either way. I just think that at 197, if Connor Mirasola is your guy, what's the point of holding him back? He's shown that he's capable of it. What is an extra year of redshirting him going to really do? And then we leave Lucas Cochran out of this conversation, right? Don't forget about Lucas Cochran.
Cochran's probably the odd man out. In any case, I would think. I think if Starocci doesn't wrestle at 197, I think it's hard for me to see him beating out Mirasola for that spot, even with Mirasola being a true freshman. And then you mentioned, Zach, if Carter Mirasola ends up going up to heavyweight, there's going to be some sibling rivalry there, because if Greg Kirkfleet doesn't come back, which I don't think that's likely, but if he doesn't, then Cole Mirasola maybe becomes the front runner to start at heavyweight as a true freshman. And then in any case, Kirkfleet's going to be gone after this season. So looking really ahead, does Carter Mirasola try to train as a heavyweight for 25, 26 while Cole is still there? Who knows? But yeah, that's an interesting point about how much Carter's going to wrestle. I think he was already on kind of a limited schedule, right? Before the knee injury, before any of that happened, he was sick against Michigan. Probably could have wrestled if they needed him to, but they held him out against Rutgers at the BJC duel. And I think they held him out against Michigan State too. So he was already kind of limited, and I think they're going to be very careful with him, assuming he does have that knee surgically repaired, which I would think should happen soon, with the trials being over and all that. I can't imagine him going a full year on a torn up knee with no medical work done on it. And that's part of the reason I'm very interested to see just how this whole thing is going to go. But yeah, I think your last point was pretty good. We're going to see a good bit of Mirasola and maybe some of Lucas Cochran at 197. And then whenever Carter's not there, that really opens up the door for Josh Barr at 184. So yeah, that's going to be another storyline during the season. With Carter back, how much is he going to wrestle before the postseason?
Yeah. So again, that logistics aside, right? It's Carter's the best at 174, 184, 197. I mean, Joe, I almost want the only reason I would want to see Carter Starocci at 197 is because of just it's brand new territory. 184 is as well. And that's my prediction. That's where I think he's best suited at in a hypothetical Penn State lineup. 197, I mean, that's 23 pounds to put on after the leg injury, right? We don't know what kind of rehab, what kind of procedures he could potentially go through, what kind of season he will ultimately wrestle. But it would be must-see TV. Carter Starocci versus AJ Ferrari. Again, all of this stuff outside of the wrestling room aside, you just wrestler versus wrestler, right? AJ versus Carter would be must-watch wrestling at 197 pounds because we saw what AJ Ferrari did in his first season when he was wrestling collegiately at Oklahoma State before all of the, off the wrestling mat stuff, of course, happened.
Yeah. And it's definitely good for the sport to have Carter Starocci back because wrestling doesn't have too many self promoters. You look at the guys on Penn State's roster, nobody really says too much on social media or in interviews, but Carter just he lets everything fly, and I think that's going to serve him very well. I think my early prediction is that Carter, I don't know if he's done with freestyle yet, but I don't think he's going to end up pursuing much of a freestyle career. I think whenever he's done with wrestling, and maybe this is even part of why he came back to Penn State, is that he knows he doesn't have too much time left on the mat. So maybe his thinking is, why not soak everything in, since after this season, that might be pretty close to it as far as wrestling goes, and then go into MMA where those self-promotional skills could be really valuable. But yeah, the matchups of 197, we talked about this, Zach, after the NCAA championships. There's nobody really left for Carter to beat on that 174. I think maybe if David Carr, the national champion 165, if he moves up to 174, that could give Carter an
Keegan O'Toole is projected to move to 174, but that's one wrestler. And again, he's owned this weight class. So I agree with you. 184, 197 gives him a much bigger challenge and just that competitive fire, right? He looks at the reason, Joe, the reason I originally didn't have him coming back is because he had done it. He had done it. You've won 4 years in a row. What is left to accomplish? Yes, you would stand alone in wrestling history collegiately, having the fifth and only title, but that at the end of the day, that's still circumstantial, right? Carter didn't earn that. He just happened to come in as a threat. Like, he didn't earn a fifth title opportunity. He just happened to be wrestling and be that good competitively at the collegiate level at the time when the entire world went through a pandemic. If Carter was 1 year older or 1 year younger, he can't wrestle for that fifth opportunity. Now he's put himself in a position to do such a thing. But again, we can't forget that a lot of this is circumstantial. I don't want to take that away from Carter, but that's why it was a 50-50 debate for him to begin with. I think he understands that in a normal scenario, this wouldn't be even happening.
Yeah, I think he understands it too. And I think a big part of, and he even said this in his statement, I think maybe the biggest reason why he wants to come back is because aside from obviously winning a fourth national championship, it had to have been a pretty miserable time for him last month, just physically. The pain of very likely tearing up multiple ligaments in your knee, the training, all the talk about the injury and speculation and what have you. And he basically said in his statement that he wants to end his wrestling career on his terms. And that kind of hit home with me because I was thinking for a while after he won, it's like, okay, he has the storybook ending. He won his fourth title. Not only did he win his fourth title, he got to do it with a teammate who also won a fourth title minutes later, which that might not be something we ever see again in college wrestling. With a coach who had won 4 national championships, and now him, Aaron Brooks, and Kale are linked for another reason too, and being 3 of the 7 to hold that distinction. And also Carter, I'm sure, knows Kyle Dake well from being an NLWC, and that's another four-time national champ. So from a fan perspective, I think the combination of Carter already going through everybody he had to go through, and also just kind of the storybook ending of winning that 4th title. But while it might seem like a storybook ending for us, it was, Carter, I'm sure, was elated to win a national championship, but
it's business as usual for him.
Yeah, and there's a lot of suffering involved in that period. So I think reading that statement really kind of put me in Carter's shoes. Obviously, I don't know. None of us know what he's going through. Only Carter knows that. But I think I was a little more empathetic to kind of seeing his side of things. And although I laid out a pros and cons list of Carter coming back before he ultimately announced it, and I still think both the pros and cons are valid. But really reading that statement kind of made me get why Carter's coming back way more so than I had before. And Carter's conquered every challenge he's ever had at the collegiate level. He's only lost 2 matches, and he avenged both of those losses. He beat Kemmerer from Iowa in the national championship after losing in the Big Tens, and he beat DJ Washington from Indiana, who also beat him when he was a true freshman. So he's done it all, and when somebody has it all, you're thinking, what else does he have to do? But Carter wants to do it on his terms, and I respect him for that. So.
And the opportunity is there, right? It's there, so you might as well take it. You might as well seize the opportunity, and that's what he's doing here. But remember, it is again a lot of dominoes needed to fall to get to this point. And that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Nittany Lions. Check out Joe's work on X. You can follow him on social media and check out his work over at NittanySportsNow.com. Joe, thanks so much for the time again, and can't wait to talk some more Penn State wrestling as soon as possible with you. I appreciate the conversation.
Of course. Thanks, Zach.
And once again, thanks for checking out this episode of Locked On Nittany Lions. If you enjoy this content, leave a like on this episode, share it with friends and family. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. And if you're not already, become an everydayer, subscribe to Locked On Nittany Lions on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. And now it's available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus the national shows covering each and every league. You can find Locked On Sports Today now available on YouTube and the free Fire TV channels app.